所以今天很高兴我们在表场请到了产品研发总监 Anthony Haas 来跟我们谈一谈今年最重要的3款新品。So first of all, thank you for this time for interview. And it's been 2 years already. It's a quite exciting time to see alange&sohne. This year, very important piece, Richard Lange mini repeater. Would you please explain a little bit about the Richard Lange mini repeater?
Of course. First of all, happy to see each other live again.
Yes.
After 2 years,
Live,
which has been
yeah.
quite tough. And it's such a difference if we can just sit face to face and have a nice chat about, of course, what we love the most, the watches. And it's an exciting year this year. And the highlight, the technical highlight, is the Richard Lange minute repeater. Mm-hmm. Finally, I think most of the people say, hey, finally, you did a classical minute repeater. Because after the big grand complication in 2013, I think most of the people expected us to just slim it down to an 1815 classical minute repeater. But then in 2015 we came with the Zeitwerk minute repeater, which is a high-tech
very
piece.
Contemporary.
And of course with the decimal repeater, and now the Richard Lange minute repeater, which is a very classical watch. So the case is only 39 millimeters and 9.7 millimeters thick, so it's quite slim and very elegant. Platinum case, waterproof, and
Waterproof?
It's waterproof minute repeater.
Oh wow!
And it has a 3-piece enamel dial.
Ah.
So all in house, and I'm very proud, and it sounds beautiful, very classical. So it sounds the hours in a low pitch tone, the quarters, high pitch, low pitch tone, and then the minutes, of course.
Do we have a chance to listen to this mini repeater?
But certainly, yes. I just, I could, if you would like to. We just could hear. It's 11:15 now here, 11 now in Glashütte, and it's the slide. It's also very classical. And 1 minute after the quarter. So
I found the quarter is like quicker than the rest of the mini repeater.
And
Is
we did
it
that
doing
on
on purpose?
Yeah, to have the highlight. Otherwise, it's the rhythm is quite slow because you should enjoy it. But the quarters are like ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, which really you need to hear it and you need to be able to count it. So that's why. When
we're talking about the mini repeater, I think every brand has their own concept about the sound of the brand. So what do you think the sound of the alange&sohne, what would that be?
Yeah, we found, we looked for, most of the people look about, it has to be loud. First of all, you need to hear it. And if you buy a watch or own a watch like this, it's for you. It's not like you're sitting in the bus and everybody hears what you're wearing. So, and you should enjoy the striking, the richness and the fullness of the tone. So that's what we focused on. Of course, if you talk about a waterproof watch, it's always exciting to get out the sound. I can tell you this, we really went for the classical way. We have our tricks, but not a very high complicated case back or something like that. This is very classical solution. We have been experimenting very long to make the gongs appropriate like we wanted. There's a lot of trial and error how to make it. There's a lot of secrets, the myth, but and of course it's not only the gongs. It's the perfect collaboration between the gongs, the hammers, the weight of the gongs, the hammer springs, but also the case, the fixation to the case. So these are the points where we continuously worked on. After making the Zeitwerk minute repeater, we did, sounds great, waterproof. Okay, we're good. No, we kept on working, and we still keep on working on how to further improve is the wrong word, because if I would say improve, then it would be negative. We are happy with this, but to learn and to play, and with different case materials also. I
found the minute is like more lower tone. It's very like solid and lower tone of it.
Yeah.
Is it doing on the purpose as well?
Yeah.
To represent the spirit of alange&sohne.
Yeah.
You brought out very interesting things that you're saying that, because I think mini repeater is always like orchestra. There's a conductor. Maybe the watchmaker is the conductor to conduct every single technique. Especially you mentioned the gong. What would be the special technique for alange&sohne to do in the mini repeater? The gong material or the fixation on the case or under wear?
I think it's the interaction between the gong, and when I talk about gong, it's the material, but also the treatment, the size, the diameter, and all things, but also how you fix the gong to the movement. The next step is also the hammer, how heavy the hammers are, and the hammer spring. That is the spring which brings the hammer towards the gong. But this watch also has a patented hammer locking system. Because what is happening? Everybody thinks, okay, this is the gong, this is the hammer. It's not happening. It's like this. And we have a system, a locking system, which keeps the hammer after it strikes, keeps the hammer away from the gong and allows the gong to vibrate freely. So you get a better effect. These are the things we build.
Is it only on the Richard Lang mini repeater or is all the
Sidewerk.
mini repeater?
Sidewerk, we also had that.
That's why we found the sound of the mini repeater from alange&sohne. It's very like strong and clear and like very solid.
I would call it, it's more a German sound. It's not so, mini repeater very fine and playful. I think ours are, I think when you hear our it's more a robust sound. Not a clumsy sound, but it's still fine, especially in platinum. The alloy platinum creates, for mini repeaters, a very pure, maybe not so loud, because many people think, oh, platinum is not good for mini repeaters. I do not agree. You mentioned a perfect example of the orchestra. The orchestra has musical instruments, you know, and you have, I'm a drummer, you have the snare drum. And the snare drum is the main drum of a drum kit. At home, I used to do studio work. I have 17 different snare drums. Of course, not in platinum, that would be crazy. But you have copper, you have brass, you have steel. Copper is the most expensive one, but does it sound best? No, it sounds warm and loud. Steel is cold, but even louder. So it's for each kind of song you recording, you use a different drum. It's the same. Platinum, for a mini repeater, is maybe not as loud, but very pure. Some call it clean, some call it too clean. If you have pink gold, it's warm. It's like the copper comparing. It's like warmer. The white gold is, I always say, a little bit clumsier, louder. It misses the purity of the platinum. And of course, for us, Lang&Sohne, we had made the striking time Sidewerk in a honey gold case, which is again completely different. That has the purity and richness of platinum, but a little bit of warmth from the pink gold. It's very interesting to play with. And we in the company can play with it. Unfortunately, you need to have all the watches. But
I also found the character of the mini repeater from alange&sohne. The sound itself is not, how do we put it, in the Switzerland way, it seems like the echo extension longer. So that's why the pitching by pitch will be like mixed together. They will have a harmony. But for the alange&sohne, it seems like not so many echo, but every sound is very like full. And so that is also the character one.
Yeah, I think this has something to do with the locking system and also with the speed of which we strike. Because, you know, if you have that watch and you activate it, it's a joy. It should be a moment of joy. There are mini repeaters, to my opinion, are way too fast. Ding, 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 ding. What time was it? And the speed is not too fast, not extremely slow. But for us, if you have the time, like 12:59, which is the longest way to strike, we take about 23, 21 seconds. That's a bit of goal we have to adjust for the watchmaker. And the watchmaker can adjust it because we have a fly governor, again a new one. We didn't just put the one from side work in this watch. In that point, this minute repeater is completely different than the minute repeater of the side work. This is a very classical one with the racks, so you pull up the slide, and then you have an all or nothing point, and then the racks fall down, and the deeper the racks fall, the more strikes you have. So, and side work, it was not able to do that because the time indication is completely different because of the numerals. So we have to find another way of defining the way how the watch strikes. It's a completely different approach, which is again very interesting for us as developers because we learn to make the grand complication, which is very classical, which is of course on grande sonnerie, and then we did a modern approach of the Zeitwerk minute repeater, which is completely different, and this is the pure of the pure classics. This is really classic.
I also found the hammer from this Richard Lang minute repeater. It seems like the hammer is slender than the other. Is it so?
No, you took good notice. The Zeitwerk, due to the fact that everything is on a dial, the hammers are flatter, thinner, but bigger. Here, it's the opposite. It's smaller, but higher.
Ah, so thicker.
Yeah, it's a little bit thicker. Well, not, we're talking about,
Higher, yes, higher.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why the sound can be strong. And also at the same time, when you look at the movement, you will see the slender, the elegancy of the movement itself.
You know what is interesting also we try to create a movement. You pull up the slide and you wind a little spring. And you always need to find, that's for all minute repeaters, to find you want to have a strong spring because you have a lot of, you can work with steeper angles, so you have a more attack. But on the other hand, if you have a stronger spring, it goes faster.
Yeah.
And by a fly governor, in fact, that is destroying energy because it breaks the energy which wants to go out because you want to have the whole cycle. You want to have more or less in the same rhythm. So that's the craftsmanship of the excellent watchmakers who are able to build. I think it's the summit of complications is grande sonnerie, petite sonnerie, minute repeaters.
And also when we're talking about fly and governor, it's actually sometimes people will get very annoyed about the sound of it, but it's actually will exist anyway. But I found this Richard Lang minute repeater, we can barely hear anything.
Yeah, and that's the idea.
It's a truly masterpiece.
Yeah, my opinion is if you work with you have two systems, classical systems. You have the lever, the little classical, the regulator lever, of which it's quite easy to adjust the speed with, but makes a little bit of noise on the background. With the fly governor, it should be silenced because that's why you put in a fly governor. So if you put in a fly governor, then you better work on it that it's silenced. You don't hear it. And we managed to get it very silent. Although the grand complication, the grande sonnerie and the minute repeater and the grand complication, it is a classical system with a lever. But we have some tricks over there. And also in the grand complication, you hardly hear the little lever. So it's all to do with the adjustments. Another point I think is also our watch cases are quite solid, always for all langers, because the lugs are soldered on and you need to have a good fixation. If you have very thin cases, you hear everything, also the sounds you don't want to hear.
True.
So so we are talking about. I think we are talking about 15 minutes about all the different aspects of the regulating the minute repeater. So I think it's a good implication how complex it is, and
not only in the movement, also about the balance and technique and everything to bring in.
Yeah, it's nice. I really love to build striking watches at that time when I was still working as a watchmaker. Sometimes I miss it, and the most fantastic moment is, as a watchmaker, you have been working for weeks, months, to assemble the movement, and there are the gongs, and you put them in, and you hear and adjust. But the supreme moment is when you case the watch up and then you tune
Yes.
the gongs, and then it comes alive. So after weeks of glowing, okay, it works, okay, good, and then you're casing it up, and then it's a long process. You case it up, you put the gongs in, you hear, okay, maybe I can take a little bit away to give it more vibration, but if you go too far, you have too much vibration and no attack. So you have to find the balance. And if you go too far, and it can be one stroke by a diamond file, just at one stroke too much, you have more and no attack. You can get new gongs and start all over again. That's quite exciting. But then the watch comes alive. It's really, it's fun. It's fantastic.
I think we all know that most of the watch from Richard Lang collection has the constant force. And this one has also constant force?
No.
Ah.
No. Our goal was really to really stay very slim, and the main focus is the minute repeater, and to just build in a constant force for having a constant force without an indication. The fun part, what we do is, we do not have watches with constant force remontoire systems for having the sake of it. So so we could say, oh, this, you don't see it, or because if you have the Lange 31, there it was necessary to put in that system, as well as the Zeitwerk. That was for us the only solution which guaranteed the numerals switch really at when the second comes up, clock, and coping with the energy, the huge energy we need to move the disc, which is way too much for the small escapement. So that's and the Richard Lange jumping second is almost could say logical thinking. You know, we work with the Lange 31 and the Terra Luna Richard Lange. They have a remontoire escapement which jumps every 10 seconds. Zeitwerk which jumps every minute. And then we said, what happens if you jump every second? So every second it's recharged. Does it still work? Yeah, it still works. So and that's the Richard Lange jumping second, because the jumping second is a result of having that constant force which recharges every second. Because I was never fond of making a jumping second, because jumping seconds is more for watch movements. And a mechanical watch, make it look with a lot of complex mechanism, make it look like a quartz watch. I don't know if that's really my thing. It's a homage to what's happened in the past. We did, of course, this very special project to honor Walter Lange. That's what we did, because he really loved it. And I think it's also it used to be the first patent in Germany, which was by his great-grandfather Ferdinand Adolf Lange, for the stoppable jumping second. So that's what we did for Walter Lange. But that is really exclusive to honor Walter Lange, because of all the things he did. So in this watch, no remontoire system.
But actually, Richard Lang collection is paid a tribute to the alange&sohne, the family spirit and watchmaking heritage. And also, when you do the mini repeater this time, and is any like heritage you track to see what would be like, and what do you want to put in this masterpiece of the mini repeater?
Now, first, although Lange had in the past pocket watches with minute repeaters or grand sonneries, all these movements were never made here. They were all bought from Switzerland. So in Glashütte, the little village over here, also at that point with different watch brands, had never had the culture as you had in the Vallée du Joux in Switzerland. There were the masters of the minute repeaters and the grand complication. I think for Glashütte was more timekeeping. Precision timekeeping, chronometers, the whole thing. Richard Lange, oldest son of Ferdinand Adolf Lange, long time technical director, had a lot of inventions and patents on timekeeping. For us, minute repeater today, I think it's very important that a brand like Lange&Sohne develops his own repeaters, and not we could have gone to my ex-colleagues in Switzerland and say, okay, can we integrate your minute repeater into a Lange or a Lange movement, and you have your. That's not the thing. I think, and that's why we started the long process. Like we worked 7.5 years to make the grand complication. That was the first project where we had to trial and error how to make gongs, the hammers and all the stuff like that. And that's very happy to work in a company who says, okay, that's a good idea, let's go. Without knowing, saying, okay, you have to be ready in 2 years. No, not possible, mission impossible. So we did that in 7.5 years to just establish, we want to know striking watches, minute repeaters and all. And then the next step, site work, and this is again. And this time we said, okay, where does the classical minute repeater, we could have done it in 1815. Who knows? It's a matter of design also for us. And we said, no, we're going to comply. And sometimes I think it's also a little bit like we did with Sidetrack Minute Repeater. Because I know the journalists and all the collectors asked me in 2014, Minute Repeater? Classical one? No, maybe not. And then we came with Sidetrack Minute Repeater, decimals, everybody was like, oh, wow. And that's the element of surprise. That's the bit of fun part for us. I hope a little bit that people are as surprised as they were at that time. So like, oh, Richard Lange, I would not expected that. So,
true.
So that's more. And technical, most of the complicated watches are technical, of course. So it fits for me perfectly in a Richard Lange. It's very classic, and especially with the beautiful 3-piece enamel dial, which is really the highest level of enamel dials, and a big compliment to the team. We are working on enamel dials since 2010. It was quite an experiment, I can tell you.
It is.
The first watch we launched was the Lange 1 Handwerkskunst in 2014. It was the black enamel, and then we did other things, and now we even learned more because the printing on the dial and the burning of the printing, which is also a risky business, we did in-house. So we first learned to make the dials, and there were dials we made in-house but we sent away to print, and now we do everything in-house. So we worked the last 3-4 years to get the printing done, which is quite tricky, which is again another aspect. An advantage is we are able to make beautiful things, but it also keeps the team very fit. Because you're challenging yourself. We challenge ourselves. We want to learn. We're a bit annoyed that we make beautiful enamel dials we send away to print. No, we want to do the print. Okay, let's try. So that's an adventure.
But we see a very classic, beautiful piece here.
And not too thick.
Yes, not
we
too
stayed
thick.
under the 10 millimeters. For us at Lange, right? Because I know some people say, yeah, I love Lange, but they're also thick. Always so thick. if the watch so Lange is thick, that has a reason, because there's technique inside. If a watch is big, there's technique. You will never see a Lange with a case like this and a movement like this. It doesn't fit for us. And the disadvantage we have is the gold chaton. You know, the little gold chatons, which is a very important element for us. You need to have extra thickness to fix the little screws, and that's a disadvantage. So we could make maybe also an extra thin watch, although we have very good colleagues who do magnificent ultra thin watches, and let them do their job. They do perfect and we do our thing. So
and we will continue with a very as well important pieces this year, the Odysseus titanium. And well, first of all, titanium, I think it surprised people because Odysseus seems very sporty to everyone. It's already very surprising. But this year, titanium. So can you explain or share some idea about the Odysseus titanium?
Of course, it's first we have working very long on the steel Odysseus. It was one of the most difficult projects, knowing that famous brands with icon models since 40 years are on the market, and knowing that people compare us with them, and also the wish of many collectors. I started in 2004 at Lange, and there were collectors who say, Tony, I have 23 Lange watches, but not the watch for the most precious time of the year, my holidays. Because with the beautiful, I'm not going to jump into the pool with the site work or something like that. So, and that was the goal, and we worked very long. We tried all different aspects. You know, we didn't have a Gerald to make us the special stuff. No, and we didn't want to do that. So we came with the steel, and it was like, wow, and we were so overwhelmed by the success of that watch. We made it like, okay, this is the steel watch for our collectors who desperately want, I want to wear a longer.
Now people are very desperate
and
to
now
get it.
people are very desperate. We are also, to be honest, we are also very desperately working very hard to try to deliver all the watches. A thing we do not want is let people wait for watches over years. But the demand is very high.
Yeah, true.
The whole world had some very strange time, let's call it a strange period behind us the last 2 years, with people got sick and stuff and delivery and stuff. So we had a bit of issues. And now, and that steel was new material for Lange, and now came another material for Lange, titanium. I can tell you this has been all the time on my wish list. Not only steel, but also titanium. I like titanium watches.
First of all, when I see the Odysseus in steel, I really want to get it. And second, the white gold, I was, okay, I still prefer the steel. But now the titanium come out, I say, well, I think I should switch to the titanium model.
And it's and it worked very long because you want to differentiate, of course, towards the steel and the gold. So you find a new, and you maybe noticed that the steel not only has the blue dial, but also a certain structure on the dial. There's rough in the middle and the texture. In the white gold, it's again different.
Yes.
Titanium, again different. It has a different ribbing around the hour markers.
Is it more like sleeky? It's more like sleeky and...
Maybe. It gives the impressions that the hour markers are pressed in the dial, which is not the case. But it's like the ribbing goes... Like it's just the guys in design got creative. So,
and we also mentioned the color.
Yeah.
The blue color is very common now for alange&sohne, but this color is like you cannot tell it's blue or gray or it's something between. It's a very like brand new color for alange&sohne.
It's a new color, new product family, so it gives us the opportunity to play, like I always say, because we have quite strict codes, which is a good thing. And this is, we call this ice blue, not because of the temperature, don't worry, it's not ice on the wrist, but and again, actually very classical. The date and the weekday are printed black on white, like we do classically. Here it's color tone and like in the white gold version, but I think it's the bracelet. It's just fantastic. It's very detailed. Each link has it's blasted, the upper surface, and then all the bevels are polished from each link. So it's a lot of work.
It takes more time than the steel one because we know the
definitely.
titanium has a different hardness and character than steel.
So and we made the design of the case also so it looks like it goes seamless from the bracelet into the watch case. A nicely polished titanium bezel, and of course all the functions, the movement is the same. Day switch, weekday switch, screwed on crown, 120 meters waterproof, and of course the adjustable buckle, the fine adjustment, and it's really
that
cool.
is my favorite part.
I
So
wear
clever.
the watch, the steel one, and it's always in the morning your wrist is smaller, in the afternoon it's open, and sometimes if it's a boring meeting you can play
you
with
got
it.
a thicker.
So yeah, it's really this is limited edition of 250 watches. I'm very proud, and maybe you want to know what the weight is, what the difference between titanium and steel. This
I
is
want to know.
148 grams, 104 grams.
Oh.
So it's lighter.
Even with the same movement.
Yeah, it's the same movement. The movement is exactly the same. So you have the rotor with the platinum mass, you have the balance wheel bridge, 4 hertz.
Do they do the special polishing process? Because this titanium looks grayish, darker than the rest of the titanium we can see in the market.
It's you can play with the material you do the blasting with, not sand. Everybody calls sand blasting, but it's in fact not sand. It's another different material where we do it with, And then you have not only the size of the, how you call it, the grain, which it also matters to the dark color. If you do it with sand, it goes very matte, dark gray. This is currant. Currant, I think is the real English word for that material where we do the blasting with, and a certain size of the grain where you, and that creates it's dark gray, but not too dark and too matte. It has a certain shine on it, and that's very important.
It's very silky.
Yeah,
very
it must
silky.
be. That's exactly the right word, because it should be not only a sporty watch, but a sporty, elegant watch. You know, when we worked on this design, one criteria was this must be very smooth. Most of the sports watches have bulky bezels, huge crown protection, because they want to say to the wearer, you can, play with me because I'm robust. This is also robust. There is a crown protection in that watch, but it's integrated in the middle part. That's why the crown has an extra long tube, but it's integrated in the middle part, so it doesn't disturb you while wearing during sporty activities. It's the same with the pushes. They are so different, and they're completely integrated in the case.
Even you see from the side of the case, you still see it's totally different from the steel one.
Yes.
And also the white gold one is very unique in
Yeah.
itself.
It has some coolness over it, and it is very elegant.
And I really like the way the designer find the right tone of the dial to match this special bracelet, and it looks very cool and stand out. Maybe the stand out is not. It's a really stand out from the rest of the titanium watches.
Yeah.
I like it.
Thank you.
I think you're going to make everyone desperately to get it as well again.
Yeah, that's the point. As long as it is a positive desperation, then it's okay. We work very hard, and to put the watchmakers also on Odysseus and so on. It has been a challenging 2 years, not only for us, for the whole world, but in this case to build and deliver the watches.
But when people would describe the Odysseus like sporty watch, will you agree that kind of a description or?
I think it's a sporty, elegant watch. I think elegance is really. I'm wearing this under a suit. For me, it fits good. Maybe there are people saying, okay, better not. But it has, and that was the goal when we developed the watch. It must be 100% Lange. That was the main thing. And then create a new face, and that's the most difficult task you can get as a designer today. Especially sport watches makes I think 85% of the watch industry.
It's very challenging.
It's very challenging. Find a new face. Sometimes you have everything's been done, and that's we worked to get this watch. I think we had 4 attempts. We started in 2005-06 already. First attempt. We didn't work from 2005 until no. But we said, okay, what is then the sporty elegant watch? Is it a Lange-matic or a Datograph in a steel case, and you put on a huge crown protection and this? That would be a rip-off, because people just bought a platinum version, which looks a bit the same. So you should give it another identity. Okay, so we went off. No, we're not gonna put our standard movements into a steel case, and suddenly you have a sports watch. Then we said, okay, what are we gonna do? Are we going to do the Géorgenta method, like create with shape bezels and stuff like that? We tried, we designed, it was no way. That was a very short attempt, I can tell you. There was no way. We thought, okay, it would be Me Too, like copying the famous brands. We don't want that. Everybody should have his own identity. And then we said, okay, we have to create a new face. And maybe there has been an influence probably by Zeitwerk, the left and the right windows for the day and the weekday. Maybe, not on purpose. And we came up, I think, in 2012-13 with first time with this date thing, and we worked bigger, smaller things. It's an outsized date, but it's a completely different construction as we are used to in Lange 1 or a Saxonia, because it's so near to the edge of the dial, so you have to find another solution. So I'm very happy. With the Odysseus.
It's very successful piece.
And I can tell you, this is not the end. We will continue. This is always been planned like a family.
I think you read my mind because I was thinking, should I ask you the possibility of the extension on this collection? Because we see the steel, white gold, and titanium.
Yeah.
Would be the material, would be the possibility in the future, or the phases and the complication maybe?
Let me take a look. Unfortunately, I can't show you. No, we have ideas. We have ideas. And we take our time because it must be good, especially high quality standards. Waterproof watches is a special thing. Functionality, special thing, and also the identity. I don't think it would be a good idea to take for example, the movement from the 1850 tourbillon and put it in a case like that. That would be like, oh, what's that? No. I wouldn't exclude maybe a tourbillon in the future, but it will be a dedicated movement for that product family, like we do always.
Anyway you do, we have a face on the alange&sohne. So we continue to go to the Grand Lange one. This year, when we see the piece, we probably cannot figure out, is it new? Is it novelty? Are you sure? But actually it is. Previously we talked about alange&sohne watches are thicker, bigger, very German macho. So this Grand Lange one is slightly different. So where is the difference?
Here says the German macho. Oh, no, I'm Dutch. The task was 10 years ago. In 2012, we launched for us, the first real Grand Lange one. We have made, in 2002, Grand Lange one. But it was a bigger case with the normal Lange 1 movement. And that was a kind of a tryout, because at that time, bigger watches became a trend, and we tried out. But since it's quite an investment to just create a new movement for a bigger size, without knowing if it would be a success, at that time, that was the choice to put in the regular Lange 1 in the Grand Lange 1. In 2012, we said, no, we're going to dedicate a movement for the Grand Lange 1, and it must be different. So this is actually the same movement as the one in 2012. How to refine a classic watch like a Grand Lange 1? That is always a bit of a dangerous task, because people see this as an icon or a favorite, and then you say, oh, let's do.
Yeah.
The watch, actually, the team managed to reduce the thickness from 8.8 to 8.2. Now it measures 0.6 millimeters for a watchmaker is huge.
Yeah, it's quite a lot.
No new movement. How did we do that? Of course, we worked on the case wherever we could. And it's funny, because if you look at the watch, it's almost as if the dial is glued to the glass. With the hands, but it's all good, all safe, secure. We reduced the thickness of the hour markers and the date window, and we lowered a little bit the hour wheel and the minute pinion was to lower the hands a little bit. As far as the dial, and technically is not thinner. We couldn't go thinner. So these were the tricks, in fact, and it is. When we work with designs, and we work with Photoshop and stuff like that, and it looks okay. So we're gonna order prototypes. So it's all technically drawn, and then we have prototypes. And we were so positively surprised. We didn't expect the difference to be so huge in real life.
It is.
It is. If you have the regular or the former 2012 Grand Lange 1, you see right away.
Especially from my side, to see the watch. If you wear on the wrist, I see, as you say, the dial just like jump out in front of you. Is it the sapphire glass has been reduced the thickness as well, or any structure?
Yeah, but very minimal. It comes together by the hour markers, the hands, the case, the glass is very. You also, of course, is waterproof. Also like all our watches, and no compromise on that. And it's amazing what you can scratch away. Now we're not gonna go in the direction of our dear colleagues from Piaget or they master. They are the masters. And
we don't mention them.
no, but we are good colleagues. We are good colleagues, and they make magnificent products, and we do our things in our style and our way. It is, like I say, it's full of gold chatons. You have the movement with 72 hours power reserve, one single barrel. The Grand Lange one, and it's so elegant. The grey is our grey, which you may have seen in other watches, but the other part, except from the subdials, is also a little bit frosted. It's not handmade.
It's not the
tremblage thing. No.
It's the effect.
It's the effect. And for the first time we did, the subdials at Lange, they always have a very sharp 90-degree edge. Mm-hmm. It looks very sharp. Makes a very precise design. Mm-hmm. Here we chosen for a 45-degree angle. So it's all the facts, I think, come together, and with the result that you have, like, wow, this looks really flat on the wrist.
Yes, I can see the edge of the subdial. It looks like this way, but previously it's more like vertical.
It's really 90 degrees.
Vertical.
Yeah.
But I also like the way the gray color on it.
Yeah.
Because of course this is the iconic alange&sohne gray, but in this watch it seems like slightly different.
Slightly different. That's what we were looking for, because we really try to avoid, that's also a bit of a challenge for us. Okay, let's refresh or redesign the Grand Lange one. And like you started, like your questions, but is that new? And that's you want to avoid. You go like, hey, wow, that's the new one. Oh, that's cool, because that's thinner than the previous one. And you always try to find, but in detail. You do not want to destroy the typical Lange 1 design. You have to respect all the aesthetics like we do in the Grand Lange 1, like we did before, and we worked really in detail. Now, are we a little bit of a detail freaks here? So that's what we like. Sometimes it's hard. Fierce discussions with a lot of passion in the team, but I can tell you it's fun, and it's we are very proud on what your achievement, and especially for the collection we have on Watches and Wonders this year. It's so diverse. You have a classical Richard Lange, you have the Grand Lange one as a classic elegant watch, and you have the new editions in titanium. It's I'm excited.
And also I feel this year we see the way how alange&sohne present in a very contemporary design, the technique, but also blended in the traditional heritage to combine together very subtle, very unique pieces.
Yeah, I think it's also a thing of a goal. What we have is Lange is for classical watchmaking. We celebrate the art of watchmaking, classical watchmaking. We are not the contemporary guys here. We have other guys for that. Anyhow, you want to give it a certain modernity, or the zeitgeist, you say. This age, it should fit. People should like it. It doesn't bring me anything if I start to copy watches which were on vogue 40 years ago. It doesn't matter. That doesn't bring it. We have to be on top of things due to colors, codes, materials, structures of dials. So that's what we work very hard on, and I'm very happy with the result of this year.
We see the white enamel dial and also ice blue in Odysseus, and also the gray, the iconic gray from the alange&sohne. I think this market has been a trend about the color, like green color, sometimes blue. So what do you think? Will you go for green? Green will be one key for alange&sohne.
Just between you and me, that sounds very strange with cameras, but just between you and me, I was very happy that we didn't launch a watch with a green dial last year, because there I saw 50 shades of green.
Yes.
I know, and I'm fine. If it's a trend, it's good. And if companies jump on it, I'm good. Lange stands for longevity. And that comes from Glashütte. Very basic, feet on the ground people. Very down to earth. Our people say, hey, the people who buy a Lange watch, they are willing to pay a lot of money for that watch. So they better enjoy over time, because it's a precious good. If you do trendy watches, if you don't know, trendy colors maybe last 1, 2, 3 years. You do not buy a Lange one for 40,000 euros for just having the fun of it for 3 years, because then it's out of trend. It's timeless design, understated, elegant, timeless design. That's what we stand for. And I can tell you, just like, of course we try things out. Of course we have been ordering green dials, but we didn't like it. It was like, and we need to like it ourselves too. If we all sit in the product committee, like, whoa, yeah, or okay, we go in detail. We have to do a next step. That's how we work. So we need to like it. And if we don't like it, and we didn't like the green, it was like odd. It was like a trend, cheap.
But I'm happy. You guys doing the work you like, the pieces you like, especially when we go to the like vintage shop, we see the 20 years before alange&sohne, you still like it. That is the timeless.
Yeah, and that's where it comes from. People pay a lot of money to afford a alange&sohne. So, and it's very important for us that they can have joy over a long time.
Today, at the end of our talk, we actually have to answer some questions from the China market. And, okay, so because I cannot remember them all, so
I fastened my seatbelt now.
Because some question I don't quite understand, but I still need to.
Maybe neither, I don't know.
The first question is, what is the improvement of the movement for this year? I don't quite get it, the
improvement.
The question, but I think probably we talk about, is there any new caliber this year? No?
The Richard Lange Minute Repeater.
But we talked about that already. So this question...
maybe improvement. I think improvement, you know, we always look on watches we are having in production. If we have after sales, of course, you know, if a watch is after 10 years or something like that comes back to service, or 7, 8 years, it's been cleaned, it's taken apart, it's been cleaned, and we get a certain experience how pieces are wear and tear. So sometimes we change a material of a certain wheel. We say, okay, we have the experience after 10 years, this wheel, we don't like it so much, we put it in another material, because then it pairs better with the other steel wheels. It's not the thing clients get. They get to see.
Yeah.
But we're all continuously monitoring our quality. Of course not, we're not gonna change movements and stuff like that. The identity will
you
be
really
same,
bring out one question I would like to know between you and me in front of the camera.
in front of the camera. So between us all.
I was thinking, well, for the manufacturer, they actually will do some adjustment on the movement, like from time to time,
Of course.
to see the reaction and result from the market, and also the after service. And do you think it's necessary to let the public, or you mean the wearer, to know every detail of the movement? Sometimes when I do the critique, I still have this kind of question: do they need to know everything about it?
No, not everything, because people just don't understand. If I say, okay, we make this spring not out of this kind of steel, but of that kind of steel, because it shows that it's better in terms of wear, it's only the advantage that if the watch comes back for the next service, or after the next 10 years, we only need to clean it and not to replace it, because it doesn't have any wear. The client will not see. And
so if that is the case, how the market or the wearer to get the feeling of the quality? I mean, sometimes people will say, well, the quality is not so good. I still cannot get the question they have, because the only thing you can feel the quality is you wear and you feel it and you look at it every day.
Yes.
That is the quality.
That is the quality. And of course the timekeeping. It's a highly technical machine, high tech, which works on a very small scale. And you know, I know watchmakers who say, now if the watch comes back after 10 years, you change all the gears. I don't like that so much. You have to make the gears in such a good quality that they could last. We test our watches for 50 years. We say, wait a moment, 50 years? What are you talking? You're just 30 years on the market. How you do that? You can accelerate the running of the movement by testing. Then you have also a view. So you can make the watch run 16 times faster, so you have 16 years in 1 year. So you can simulate that in the laboratory. And we do that because we just want to know what happens with the lubrifications, what the things, the mainsprings and all the delicate parts. And we adapt the quality to that. Because why not? I not prefer to change, to be in need to change the whole gear. Because the gear has been, I don't know how to say the word in English, but after a year, you know, the watch is built. At Lange, when a new watch is built, it's assembled, the first assembly. Then it's running. And we let it run for a couple of days.
Yeah, the second assembly.
And then we take it apart. Why do we let it run for a couple of days? To get the gears to each other. The longer a movement runs, the smoother things go. So if I, for after sales, have to change, of course, if necessary, you do it. But normal, the watches or the wheels are such a good quality, you don't need to change. There's no wear, you know, no strange ribbons or stuff like that in the wheel. You just clean it and it goes again for the next 10 years. Or 7 years, it's between 7 and 10 years. It depends a little bit on the wearing. So we're always monitoring, and we have a very close exchange between the colleagues in the manufactory and the development. I think it's very important. That's how you make and keep your quality.
Yes. And second question, very interesting. Will alange&sohne explore more on the sporty watches? Apart from Odysseus.
Making Odysseus and you know, the Odysseus is a product family. So there's more going to be happening in that over the years. Gently. Over the years, all good. But we're gonna further develop the Odysseus family.
I think the lifestyle is changing so fast, because in China, if you say 10 years ago, no one cares about the sporty watches. But now people are asking, will alange&sohne have a sporty watch, and do we have more? Very interesting. So the third question is, well, everyone wants alange&sohne watches so badly, and there's a long waiting list. So would you have ever think about to increase the supplying production quantity or expanding the capacity?
Of course, because if you're successful, you want to sell more. But at Lange, extending production means more watchmakers, hands. It doesn't work. I can't put machines more to produce more movements. We have our own watchmaking school since 1997, and we train our watchmakers. So we are desperately waiting to come for the new ones. But you should know that after 3 years watchmaking school, the watchmaker is ready to go and learn another year how to work on Lange watches. And then after the years after, when he or she starts gently for easier watches, we see if the person is okay for watchmaking or not. It will show. And there are many young people say, "Oh, after 2 years, it's not my thing. I want to do other stuff." It's human. So we don't have a planning like, okay, in 2 years we have to make 10,000 watches or something like that. Doesn't make any sense. We keep our quality, and we try to best as we can to get young people enthusiastic about watchmaking, so they will join. They do a training for watchmaking, which takes 3 years, 4 years, and then we'll see. The talents will go, because you have young watchmakers who say, "No, I'm fine making my Saxonia, I'm good." But they also, "Oh, I want to make the grand complication one day," or something like that. They dream. Now, these people, we have a lot of young people in the manufactory, so they grow within the company. And that's the idea. But that's the only way how we can build watches. It's it's craftsmanship. So, and I know it can be, because that's a bit of if we're successful, to have a long waiting list. And we say, "Oh, that hurts a bit," because you do not want people to wait too long.
Yes.
But we're working very hard. to get all the watches built. There's no playing games here. So, but you know, you must see for Odysseus, the same watchmakers who built Odysseus are the ones who made, for example, the Saxonia moon phase, and we also have a waiting list for that. So how you jingle, you know, that's it. And we try to expand, but the Odysseus in that point is not more important than the Saxonia or a Lange one. So that's always a bit. It's a difficult task for us to plan, but we work very hard. But extending and blah, no.
I have a very tricky question.
Oh.
Suddenly came out. I think people will say, well, it's a hungry marketing gimmick when you like desperately want to get a watch. But from my point of view, it takes time to make a watch. Otherwise, it could not be so refined, so in quality. But somehow people will say, it's a gimmick for the hungry marketing. What will you respond to this kind of?
I've heard that before. You know, people say, they talk about double assembly the whole time, but in fact, it's just a marketing gimmick and so on. And you know, I'm a watchmaker, and working with the German silver, and of course you have the finger protection and the tips and all the things. But you should know that if a watchmaker assembles a movement, he has the main plate. There is a jewel inside. Then he takes a wheel, puts it in. Then he puts one wheel, the first wheel. He puts the bridge on top with the jewel inside. And then he's adjusting the end shake. Maybe it's too high, takes the bridge away, lowers a little bit the jewel, and tries again. He has to do, or she has to do that for whole the gear train. That's normal. Okay, they have also brands who produce way more movements a year. They have machines for that. For us, that would be impossible. If it's only by the gold chatons, you can't press it by a machine. It doesn't work. So after this, imagine putting the wheel in again, and up and down, wheel out, next wheel. And so it goes on and off, and on and off, and in and out, all these wheels, the whole gear. And then at the end, it lubricated and see if it's adjusted. It runs, okay, takes it away. As soon as it's lubricated and you take the bridge away and you put it again to finally adjust it a little bit, the oil goes everywhere. So you get very oily spots on all the movement on all sides. Now we don't want to sell that. So that is why the watch, okay, it's now running, okay, it's good. Not the fine regulation, but it's okay. We put it aside, it runs for 3 days, and then we take it apart and we clean it. And then we assemble, and then the assembling is the final jamming. So you only adjust, you know that the movement is okay, it's good, and you only assemble the watch and oil, lubricate everything you need, and then you don't touch it anymore, because then otherwise the oil is everywhere. So maybe we should show one day a film of a Lange one movement, which is just one time assembled. You're like, oh, this is stuff, oil everywhere, and dark spots on the German silver. So that's the reason why we do that. That is a watchmaker. And I understand that people say, oh, that's a marketing gimmick. But that's logic, because they are not watchmaker and never saw it, maybe.
Yes.
You know, that's a point. And that's the reason why we do the double assembly. Because it needs to be impeccable. But that's it is, I hope.
So thank you very much for today, Anthony. Then we will have a
Thank you, Laura. Thank you.
谢谢大家的观赏，很高兴今天能够请到 Anthony 跟我们一起有的深入对谈对产品。那也请大家继续关注朗格的官方小程序，有更多的对谈，还有更多的新品资讯。谢谢。